I'm Tim Tyree, head coach of the MVISBL.
Chaz Merlack, face of the Mon Valley Independent Basketball League.
Welcome to the league.
Take it away, Jose and Jeremy. Let's go!
Like to thank the face of the Mon Valley Independent Summer Basketball League, Chaz Merlack, and B Graphics head coach Tim Tyree for the great intro. Welcome everybody to episode 4 of Mon Valley Independent Summer Basketball League's Inside the League. I'm Mon Valley Independent sports editor Jeremy Salou, and to my right and your left is
assistant sports editor Jose Negron.
Jose, we're gonna get right to the chase. Halfway point, we're there. What do you make of the first half of the season?
Well, I think obviously we talk about it every week of just how balanced every single team is, how much better every team is getting, and I think that's evident right now in the standings. I mean, you kind of look at the girls division. AMD has kind of taken a control of the girls division with a 2-game lead, but I mean that boys division is wide open right now. Obviously, Farmers had to forfeit a few games. We'll talk about that a little bit going on into the show, but that boys league is really, really balanced, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens over these next couple of weeks.
It kind of really sucks that we have this great. I mean, both divisions are excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the games have been excellent, top to bottom. But the last 2 weeks we haven't been able to have fans there to see, especially in the boys' league, the competitiveness between the games. We'll talk about some of the close games we had this week. I know we talked about a couple last week as well. First off, we're not quite sure if we're going to be able to have fans this week, but we're hoping, and we're very hopeful that we will get to see everybody there. Stay with us on Twitter, at Mon Valley Independent Sports. We also have the MVISBL boys and girls accounts that we'll be putting out the updates as soon as we find out. But we're very hopeful, and it'll be big to get fans there again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that's been obviously the missing piece. You want to have that atmosphere of having all the fans inside, and that's what makes this league great. And it's been tough over the last 2 weeks not having them, but we've been excited to have our broadcasts and been able to bring the action to them. So hopefully we'll get them in the building here soon.
Absolutely. And let's jump right into the girls division play for the week. Jose's not going to share the content with me, so I'll have him start it off. Earlier this week, we had some really good games, and it's Cedarbrook still struggling a little bit, but they kind of found their legs there last week, and their games are a little bit more competitive. They have been. I mean, obviously on Monday we had Edward Jones beating Cedarbrook 59-41 in the opener. Big game for Bell Vernon areas. Presley Colditz, 23 points, and Alyssa Clutter with 21. And that's one of the things I talked about head coach Larry Cash about, was getting somebody to back Clutter up and have another second, maybe a third primary scorer, so that way it spaces things out a little bit.
And Colditz has really come up clutch for them the last few games, adding double digits. She obviously 23 points. That was a huge game for her. She hit a couple really big threes in that game, and also in their game on Wednesday. So if they're able to get some of that balanced scoring, which we actually saw, we're going to mention the Wednesday's game as well, but they had some balanced scoring on Wednesday too. So if that happens, Edward Jones could potentially be a surprise team here in the next couple of weeks. Obviously it's going to be a battle between them and looks like Manessa and Florist and some of those other teams for those last playoff spots.
And one thing that Edward Jones got too was Lauren Uhas, who struggled a little bit in her first game back, but then she comes back, has a big game on Wednesday. We'll get to that. Leading scores for Cedarbrook in that game: Nicole Pulaski from Sarah Catholic with 15, and Lena Laurent from Baldwin with 12. Second game of the week was Dax Thomas State Farm and Manessa and Florist. State Farm wins that one 57. It ran their winning streak up to 4, I believe. And really set up Wednesday's showdown with AMD. But three scores in double figures for State Farm. Not Maricito. Oh man, that was a while back. Emma Cito with 15, Kendall Weston with 13, and Ella Kupka, who I talked extensively to head coach Tommy Rodriguez about, with 11. And for Manessa and Flores, it's been Hannah Pugliese all week. 21 big points in this game. Obviously, her team didn't get the win But we thought maybe that was the breakout game. But, we'll get to Wednesday's game in a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
What were your thoughts on that game?
I mean, kind of the same thing. I think, State Farm, when it comes to this league, we know how much veteran leadership they have, and obviously they're leaders of Emma Cito, who's been in the league a couple years. Kendall Weston has kind of turned into a veteran who's been around, but Ella Kupka has really kind of started to gain some momentum and started to maybe gain some familiarity with her teammates, and maybe she's a little more comfortable now, because it looks like we've kind of seen her as a top scorer these last 3-4 games or so. So
definitely the biggest thing for her too is her confidence.
Yeah,
Coach Rodriguez talked about how coming in as a incoming freshman, kind of timid and shy in the first couple weeks, but now she's probably one of the players that I know on Wednesday, AMD head coach Bria Rathway said that was one of the players they focused on the most defensively. So the last game of the night, obviously, was Coach Rathway's AMD team playing her former Bell Vernon Leopard teammate, Caitlin Slagus, and it was AMD moving to 5-0 with a 52-34 win. Again, the two Trinity girls, Eden Williamson with 13, Kaylin Vienick with 11. And for Lee Supply, it was Jenna Dawson with 11 leading the way. Gracie Fairman had 9. But yeah, I mean, AMD continues to roll.
Yeah, it was one of those games where they didn't have their two leading scorers up in the 20 range like they usually are, but Bria Rathway said when they can hold a team to, I think, 13 first half points, that's okay. They don't need to score in bunches. So I think a big thing for AMD in this game was their defense. They limited Gracie Fairman to, she didn't get her first point until the second half, and she only finished with 9. Jasmine Fisher just had 2 in the first half, and that was it. So I think, that was big. When those two girls are on, Lee Supply, will likely be in a game. But if you hold, those two and Jenna Dawson is, kind of in check, you're going to make something happen.
And I got to give a huge shout out to Ringgold Athletic Director Laura Grimm for joining us. Arguably the best player in Sarah Catholic history.
Arguably.
Her records will stand. I mean, there's no doubt about it. 1,940 points. I mean, that's not going anywhere. Yeah. So, I got to thank her for joining us. We're hoping to have her back. I think she's away this coming week, but hoping to have her back and maybe give us a 3-man booth for the championship week. That'd be awesome to have.
I think if you almost score 2,000 points in your high school career, I think we can take out the word arguably. I think she's probably the best player. I
think head coach Bill Cleary would probably agree with us there. He loves his Grimmy, so that's something that's gonna continue there.
Right.
Looking at Wednesday's games though. The feature matchup was again a rematch of Week 1, last year's championship game, AMD and State Farm. It's a great game. AMD coming in 5-0. State Farm 4-game winning streak. Their only loss was to AMD in the first week, and that pattern held true again this week with AMD winning 63-46, and it was a 20-point lead, 22-point lead, I think, at some point in the second half. Kaylin Vienick again. I think 17 points, but I think 13 or 14 of those were in the second half. She really turned it on. Eden Williamson with 12 and Farrah Reeder with 10 points. So I know Coach Rathway was really excited about the balance her team showed, and how anybody at any time, if you try to take away one of her players, another one's going to step up.
Oh, absolutely. And even not just those three, but they have so much balance on their bench. I mean, they're just so loaded with talent. And even just, you obviously bring back a girl like Kaylin Vienick, but you think about what AMD lost coming into this season.
Right. You
lose a league MVP in Ashley Godone, you lose Bella Scoble, and, they bring in a player like Eden Williamson who really filled that void.
Absolutely.
And, with the draft that Bria Rathway had, she, didn't really, even though she lost a lot, they were able to kind of, make up for that.
Her and her staff definitely did their homework, checking out huddle links and everything before the draft, and drafted really well. For State Farm, Emma Cito had 12, Ella Kupka with 11. But the thing is about that, I think 8 of Cito's points and the 8 or 9 of Kupka's points all came in the first half.
Yeah.
So they were shut down in the second half. And, AMD, we haven't said anything about their defensive effort.
Yeah.
Coach Rathway really picks up the pressure. They held off most this game the half court, and it really kind of put a stall on what State Farm wanted to do.
Right, and you look at, offensively, obviously they're talented, but defensively, Kaylin Vinik and Eden Williamson are two of the best defensive players in this league as well. So, they can win games by outscoring you by 30, and they can win games by, maybe scoring 40, 45 points and still beating you. So, AMD right now is without question the best team in this league.
Just looking, we'll get to the Power 5, the leaders here, but you mentioned Williamson and Vinik. They're number 2 and number 3 in steals. So you mentioned their defensive prowess, and there it is. The second game of the week was Lee Supply, or the night was Lee Supply and Cedarbrook. Lee Supply comes away with a 45-37 win. Again, Cedarbrook was in this game until late. Katie Hoff with 14 points from Our Lady of Sacred Heart, but Lee Supply, Jasmine Fisher got on a roll. She finished with 17, Gracie Fairman with 14, and Jenna Dawson with 13, and that's the kind of balance that Caitlin Slagus wants for her team.
Right.
3 scores in double figures. It doesn't have to be 17, 14, and 13, but 10, 9, 8, anytime she could get those 3 girls rolling, Lee Supply is going to be tough to deal with.
Right, and we mentioned, when they were up against AMD, that didn't happen, and that's why they kind of suffered more of a lopsided loss. But when they can get those 3 girls on, I think those 3 girls are one of the really better guard trios in this league.
For sure.
And, when they're scoring in bunches and when they're doing their part, Lee Supply is going to be in games. And also when they're avoiding foul trouble. I think in that game against AMD, I think Jasmine Fisher, found herself in foul trouble, and I think Gracie had a few early ones as well. So, when they're able to kind of avoid that and they're able to do their thing offensively, Lee Supply is going to be on.
Yeah, for sure. And the third game of Wednesday night was the absolute best game
perhaps
of the week.
Perhaps the best.
The early nominee for game of the year.
Yes,
honestly,
I think so.
Monessen Florist holds off Edward Jones 63-62. Coach Corrado, we laughed, was playing for third place in that game.
Yeah.
So, and he has it. But the big story of that game was Hannah Pugliese, 27 points, 10 rebounds, just a monster on the boards, under the glass, and inside in general. And that was the game plan for Monessen Florist. I know they picked up the defense after the visual aids Coach Corrado gave them during the one time out up on the court. But another story there was Boots the Younger,
13
freshman from Charleroi, 13 points, 2 huge 3-pointers at one point. And Emily Vinik with 11 points, so she got into double figures. But she really led the way and really guided to this team what they needed to do.
Right, yeah. She hit that eventual game-winning free throw, I think 11 seconds on the clock, if I'm not mistaken. But, she just provides so much. I think she almost had a triple-double, too.
It was close.
She had, like 8 rebounds, maybe like 9 assists or something like that. But she just provides so much leadership. And talking with Coach Corrado after the game, he talks about how she has made those younger girls better.
Absolutely.
And she just really did it all. She was able to come up with those clutch free throws. That's who you want on the charity stripe at the end with the game on the line. You want your best and most experienced player. So credit to Monessen Florist for getting that. I know they wanted that win big after falling to Edward Jones in the season opener, but also credit to Edward Jones. 4 players in double figures, led by Lauren Uhas with 18, Presley Colditz had 16, Alyssa Clutter with 15, and Tori Wesolowski with 10.
Edward Jones had their chances.
Yes.
When they got into the 1-1, Monessen Florist had to foul. I know Clutter stepped to the line, missed 2. Uhas missed a shot underneath on a great defensive play by Kaylin O'Delly to kind of slide over. She didn't get contact for a charge, but she distracted her enough as she went under the hoop and tried to get in a reverse layup and hit the bottom of the iron. So that was one of those plays that really sticks out. And the biggest thing for me, Monessen Florist, was such a young team, they have to learn how to win those kind of games, and that's exactly what they did on Wednesday.
Absolutely. Those close games are going to make these young players better, and it's going to make them know what to do in certain situations like that. So, right now, you said at the beginning of the season, Monessen Florist was a team to watch out for. Chad Corrado has told us maybe a billion times that his freshman 5 or his fresh 5 are players to watch out for, and it looks like they're getting a ton of experience so far this year, and they didn't even have Macy Justice in that game.
I was just going to say they were missing one of their best shooters in Macy Justice, and that's the one thing. I mean, DeYounger hit a couple big threes, but that's the one thing they were missing was an outside threat. And with Justice coming back this week, who knows? We'll get to the schedule, but who knows what can happen this week? They might be able to move. Maybe take a leap up if somebody upsets State Farm here.
Yeah, I think if Monessen Flores can maybe improve on the defensive end, I know Coach Corrado's kind of, he wants that to improve.
Really wants them to get back on defense.
So, if they can do that, I think they'll be good the rest of the way.
We'll wrap it up with the girls' league here real quick, but we're going to take a look at the standings overall. Obviously, leading the way, you have AMD, and like you mentioned, a 2-game lead now over second place State Farm, who sits at 4-2. Monessen Forest and Lee Supply each 3-3, but Monessen Forest does own a tiebreaker over them, but they do have to play again.
Right.
So Lee Supply and Monessen Forest are both tied for third at 3-3. Edward Jones 2-4, but I think they're definitely going to move up a little bit. And Cedarbrook, bringing up the rear at 0-6, but again, much improved this week for Cedarbrook.
Right. I think right now in those standings, AMD has gained that that separation atop the standings, but when you look at those 4 teams there in the middle, I mean, any one of those teams can beat the other in a single night. So it's going to be really interesting to see, what kind of unfolds in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. That'll wrap up the girls' division play. We'll be right back. We're going to show you the pictures of the week from our photographers that were on hand, Jen Caudalupi and Ben Bamford this week, and we'll come back and wrap up the boys' week. All right, we're back, and before we get started with the boys' league, we got to give it up to our photographers for great pictures this week. I thought this week above all the other weeks were,
They brought their A game.
They were good. They were a lot better than they were, week 1. But being off for 3 months, we had to get back into the flow of our things too. Before we get to the boys' league, though, we're going to take a look at the Power 5 leaders for the girls. And Jose is going to take you through that.
Yeah, Kaylin Vienick from AMD, of course, still leading the way. Now 99 total points, so she's one away from that big 100 mark, averaging 16.5 points per game this season. Hannah Pugliese from Monessen Forest steps right into that number 2 spot after a big week of 21 and 27 points respectively. 91 points total, averaging just over 15 points per game. And Kaylin Vienick's AMD teammate Eden Williamson there in third, Alyssa Clutter from Edward Jones in fourth, and Gracie Fairman from Lee Supply rounding out the top 5. In rebounds, Hannah Pugliese is leading the way there with 48 total rebounds. She had 10 earlier this week on Wednesday. Lainey Gerdich in second from Edward Jones, Katie Hoff from Cedarbrook in third, Abigail Whaley from Lee Supply in fourth, and Eden Williamson rounding out the top 5 in fifth.
Each team represented there.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how balanced the rebounding is for each team. Everybody kind of has someone that they rely on there.
All right, and let's jump right into recapping the boys division, and it's going to go a lot quicker than the girls because there are 2 games that didn't take place. Farmers Insurance takes their first 2 L's of the season. Not enough players for head coach Dana Zychek's team. They give forfeit wins to Elite Physical Therapy and to Howard Hannon, which that one might come back to bite him a little bit. So So we only had 4 games in the boys division this week, and it's all started off with Howard Hanna and Campy's Pizza. Howard Hanna comes away with a 64-60 win. Again, Keandre DeShields leads the way. I talked to Matt Loftus after the game, and he is who has made them go so far, and that's not lost on Coach Loftus. DeShields finished with 19 points, Mekhi Valentine with 18, and Isaiah Mosley with 14. For Campy's Pizza is Demetrius Butler with 13. Brandon Patterson with 12, and Eli Teslovich with 11. So very spread out, very competitive game. I know head coach Naz Victoria Campy's was elated with the effort that he had from his players, different from the week prior.
Yep.
But nonetheless, they fall to 1-4 after Monday or after Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about it a few times too. This Howard Hanna team is dangerous. I mean they're going to be there. It looks like every single game they continue to get better. And the interesting thing about them is when you look at guys like DeShields, Valentine, Mosley, these are 3 new players to this team, and when they get on, they really when they can get hot. I mean, it's just there's no stopping those 3, and you don't even talk about the just the balance that they have in terms of the veteran guys like Zach Usher and Easton McDaniel, Daniel Gordon. I mean, these are guys who have been in the league the last few years, and you add these 3 to that mix, and it's really provided some good balance for Matt Loftus and his team. For
sure. The second game of Tuesday's slate was B Graphics playing Union Cleaners, and B Graphics just rolled to a 70-40 win. Rod Gallagher again 24, Trey Champagne with 18, and Braden Reynolds with 15. No surprise they're seeing those 3 guys at the top of the scoring leaders.
No, it seems like that's kind of been an every game thing. Those 3, getting up atop that maybe 15-point range. Rod and Braden seem to. I think they're averaging close to 20, maybe if more. I think Rod's definitely averaging over 20, but I don't know if Braden's quite there yet or not. But yeah, I mean, there just has not been any stopping B Graphics. I mean, the closest, obviously they have that one loss, but the closest they were coming to losing another game was to Howard Hanna when they beat them in overtime a couple weeks ago. So their one loss has come to Farmers Insurance, but right now obviously they're kind of having some issues with getting enough players to each game. So B Graphics was able to come away with a lopsided win there, and obviously we'll get to talking about their game on Thursday as well.
Right. And for Union Cleaners, Nate English from Maverick Allerton had 12, and Colton Kovach, son of head coach Kevin, he finished with 11 to lead the way for Union Cleaners. Union Cleaners did perform better in their second game. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, we got to get the B Graphics again on Thursday. They played the second game, and they too were a little shorthanded, but they did manage to get 5.
Right.
But yeah, Braden Reynolds again, no Gallagher there, so Braden Reynolds kind of took control with 29, and we saw the return of Quentin Martin to the league after missing all but the first game of the season. He finished with 23. Trey Champagne again with 16, and Jake Caruso from Charleroi with 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. We talked about it after this game that they could still do that without the league's leading scorer. And I mean, how dangerous they can be with Rod, Braden Reynolds, Quentin Martin, Trey Champagne, and then adding, any 5th guy in there. You had Sean McSwiggan, you had Nick Werdeber, you had Jake Caruso, anybody in that spot, or Ty Wanacue as well. So, I mean, it's unbelievable how much talent they really have on that team.
And it's funny because this game was a good barometer on what happens if you have all those guys. They had them all in week 1, and they won by 50 playing the same team. So, in this game they still won by 21, but they were up a lot bigger than that. Bright spots for Elite, though. I mean, Makai Scott from West Mifflin had 20, Robert Kane with 18, and then Bryce Epps with 14. When you mention it, though, I mean, B Graphics, just so much talent all over the floor, and I can't wait to watch Quentin Martin play this year, football and basketball at Bell Vernon. But I mean, he's 13 years old, and he looks like a 25-year-old man out there on the court. It's just astonishing to watch. I know when we came and did the pages, we ran a photo of him, and even Carl Hill, our one of our other editors, said, "What do you mean he's only 13?" It's just amazing to watch the athleticism that comes out of such a young kid.
Yeah, and Tim Tyree even said, I mean, he's I don't think he's ever seen a 13-year-old kid play like Quentin Martin does. No. And, it's going to be so cool to see him play at Bell Vernon with, Devin Whitlock and Daniel Gordon and, even Alonzo Wade, just the young talent that they're going to have over there. But he's a huge addition to B Graphics. I'm sure Tim Tyree's excited to have him back.
The second game of Thursday's slate, probably the best game of the week, most competitive game. Union Cleaners just missed getting their first win of the season. They actually had a couple chances at a game-tying three-pointer in the final seconds, but Coach Victoria's Campy's Pizza team holds them off 69-66. This time it was Eli Teslovich leading away with 17 and Demetrius Butler with 10, and we talked a little bit about Quentin Martin. Man, if Eli Teslovich was going to be at Bell Vernon next year, obviously he's going to go to Shady Side Academy, which is awesome for him. But, yeah, I mean, Union Cleaners was right there in the end. They came back, I think, from a 6-point deficit inside the final minute, hit some big shots, but Coach Kovach's team still waiting for their first win of the season.
Yeah, and I think when talking with Naz Victoria after the game, he wasn't pleased with what his team was able to do. Still kind of searching for them to play a full game, a full 32 minutes. But hey, a win's a win. That was definitely what they needed. They were on a 4-game losing streak. Their last one came against Union Cleaners, so they really needed this one. Even though it wasn't pretty, he'll take it. But you mentioned Union Cleaners, gave them all they had. Nate English with 22 points. Logan Wright had 18. I believe he had a few big threes as well. So I feel like Union Cleaners is getting there.
They are.
And we talked about them having more depth on their bench. I think that made a big difference because when they would only have 5 or 6 guys, I think fatigue would set in late in that second half. But here, I don't think it really was a factor because they were able to get guys in and out, in timely fashion. So I think that they're inching in on that first win. I think they're going to get it, but I think they're going to need more effort on the defensive end, rebounding. I know that Kevin Kovach wants to see a better rebounding effort from his team. So I'm sure that they're going to get it here soon.
And there's no reason they shouldn't have a rebounding edge in most of their games. They go 6'5", 6'4", 6'4" across the front line.
Yeah.
They're probably one of the biggest teams in the league, and they're not getting the production out of the bigs under the board that Coach Kovach wants to see.
Right, and we would be remiss to not give a shout out to Chaz Merlack and what he went through.
The face. He's
on
the
Thursday.
face.
The face of the Mon Valley Independent Summer Basketball League. I mean, one, he was wearing jorts, which you can do whatever you want when you have the effort like Chaz Merlack, according to Kevin Kovach.
Right.
But he also dislocated his finger.
Yes, that was gross.
And his dad popped it back in. Went back on the court. Of course, he came back to the bench, to get a little breather, but still went, business as usual. So, got to give a shout out to him for the toughness on display there.
Absolutely. I mean, without a doubt. And he's always entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't think he really wanted to give us the entertainment value he did when he dislocated his finger.
but it worked.
It worked for sure. Just looking ahead to the schedule, we'll give the boys slate for the week since we're talking about the boys. Campy's Pizza and B Graphics in the first game on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, followed by Elite Physical Therapy and Howard Hanna, and Farmers Insurance against Union Cleaners. I know Union Cleaners don't want to do it this way, but it might be their first win if Farmers can't get their guys in a row.
Right.
And then Thursday we have Elite Physical Therapy against Campy's Pizza, Farmers Insurance against B Graphics. If both teams are there, that's going to be the featured matchup to watch. And Union Cleaners takes on Howard Hanna in the nightcap of that game. As for the girls' league on Monday, sorry, I'm going to fiddle through my papers here because our printer prints front and back. Okay, so on Monday, we're going to have Edward Jones and Lee Supply, and that's a big game in the standings for sure. AMD and Menneson Flores, so the Fresh Five get a chance to reunite with Macy Justice returning, and they'll take on the first place team.
Can Menneson Flores dethrone the unbeaten?
Chad Carrados here, so I'm not going to give my prediction.
He's
on
not
that.
in his head.
And Cedar Brook will face State Farm in the nightcap, and Wednesday's game, State Farm takes on Lee Supply. Edward Jones takes on AMD, which that, with the addition of Lauren Uhas, that can turn into a great game. Great guard play in that game. And Cedar Brook and Menneson Flores to round out the night there. The one thing we did not do that we have to skip back again is we're going to run through the standings of the boys division, and I'll let you do that before we wrap it up.
Yeah, so we got obviously at the top, you got B Graphics there at 5-1. Howard Hanna tied with Farmers Insurance for second place at 4-2. Elite Physical Therapy sits at 3-3. Campy's Pizza now at 2-4, and Union Cleaners at 0-6. So you got obviously those two teams that are now tied. Howard Hanna was very happy to get that win over Farmers, so that way it puts them in that second spot. But going to be a battle there between Elite Physical Therapy and Campy's Pizza. Campy's is going to need to get a victory. It's going to be a must-win against Elite the next time they face each other. And
I think from this part forward, it's been a while since Campy's Pizza has not been in a playoff spot. So Coach Victoria is not happy where his team is, and we'll see if they can kind of correct that this week. So.
Right, and look out for Union Cleaners too. If they can maybe muster up something, maybe they can put a wrench in
they're definitely playing better.
Yes,
they're
absolutely.
Definitely playing better.
And like I said, you get more kids to come out, and you get more bench depth there, and you can sub out a little bit more. I mean, I think that makes a really big difference.
I'm going to go on record right now and tell the founder of the league and the commissioner maybe increase the roster spots by a few.
Maybe.
Then you don't have to cut as many players that come to the tryouts. Maybe increase to 12 or 13.
It adds to the amount of kids that get the opportunity to play too, because, I mean, you see some of the kids who really haven't played much who got drafted. I mean, there are a ton of kids who didn't get drafted that would love that opportunity. So.
I'm going to say just expand to 2 new teams.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I mean, that's an option.
What do I know? I just work here. So
I think that our opinions matter, so, why not?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'll do it. Good show.
Yeah.
We're past the halfway point, running down the home stretch.
We going to be broadcasting again this week?
I don't know.
I
guess we're going to find out when everybody else does. I know we got great reviews from everybody online, so we appreciate that. We had games up high as 75 viewers at one point, especially in the girls division. That's huge. We want to thank all you guys for tuning in during the broadcast during the week, and hopefully we'll see them back here Monday night for the girls.
Yep. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.